again.
Rerun.
Here we go.
Take two.
Do it.
So we have a lot of donated fabric, and when it comes in, we have a team of people who wash the fabric and iron the fabric and assort it by color and size. And we have a lot of little pieces that we have to figure a way to make them into a beautiful design. And we had some leftover small pieces of fabric with butterflies, and one of our team members came up with this design. It's called bug jars. And if you look closely, there are butterflies and beetles and dragonflies and spiders in a design that looks like a little jar. So we've made quite a few of these, probably close to 24. And we're now expanding the bug jar design into jars. We have pantry jars that we are now putting in. We find fabric that has tomatoes and pickles and anything you can can or jar.
Yeah.
And we're also making ones with fun things for children, such as shells and candy and marbles, because you can find fabric with almost any theme. So we've expanded this bug jar to all kinds of jars, and it started with scraps that someone donated.
That's incredible. And, you know, like we were talking about before, each one of these quilts, they have a special story to them. And, you know, you talked to us before about like how much really goes into the teams that are working on these things, the cutters and all those different things. Could you tell us a little bit more about that whole process and how that comes together and how much time it actually takes?
Well, the main Quilts to Heal is still operating very strongly in Connecticut, which is where I come from. I've been in North Carolina just for a few months. And there's a team there, a board of directors, a big team that meets every other week to prepare the quilts and the fabric, and every other week, twice a month, at a quilt shop where they lay out the quilts, they cut, they iron, they sew, they design, they get the 3 layers together because quilts have a top, a bottom, and a middle. So they get all those 3 layers together. Some of them are tied, which is an old-fashioned way to take thread or crochet thread and make knots to hold the 3 layers together. Like this one is tied.
Oh, wow.
And then many of them are now long-armed, which is the design that you see here. And where I live, there's a long-arm club. The long-arm machine is a very complex $15,000 machine, which we don't have. But people who buy them want to learn to practice. So we accommodate them by letting them practice on our quilts. And with a long arm machine that's generated with a computer, you really can't make a mistake. So they're done by people who are learning to long arm, and they're more and more beautiful all the time because we learn more and we teach each other. And the results are sometimes surprise us because we don't know where we're going at the beginning.
But sometimes the complexity of the long arm or the quilting design is just so beautiful. We had one that's like was farm vehicles, John Deere, and they actually used a chicken wire pattern.
Wow.
And it came out really
just
beautiful.
Like you're on a farm.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they tried to do it and another one was very coastal, and they did seashells on it and fish and waves. So they tried to do it themed, but they all come out beautiful.
Yes, they do. I know that clients who have selected the different quilts, that's exactly what they explain. Like I'm looking at this one with the soccer balls and the baseballs. There's so much variety here that I could see that there's something here for everyone.
So this fabric here, the blue with all the different sports ball, was fabric that we purchased or was donated for one of the children from Sandy Hook because he loved all sports.
Wow.
And this was leftover from what we used for his quilt for Jack. And we cut many 6-inch squares, and we decided to do something with them. So all of these fabrics were chosen for some of the children of Sandy Hook.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And are now left over and doing more, hopefully, comforting work for other children.
Amen. Well, bless you so much. Again, like we said, every one of these quilts, they have a story to them, a story behind the people who are making these quilts, a story behind the reason why the quilts were made, and a story behind the people who received these quilts. Thank you again so much for everything all of you are doing.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. Thanks.